Good morning, Professor, and the rest of the class. Hope you guys are having a great week. Today I'll be going over my implementation plan and the last part three, the pragmatic dreamer, which I feel was my favorite part of this project. And so, my big dream, my moonshot idea. After watching that video, I really was like, you know what? I do have a moonshot idea, and I don't know if I'm fully able to do it, but I'm gonna at least attempt to do it. And so my moonshot idea is to create an app that is made specifically for physical education. And I know, like I talked previously, is there are apps that I use that I will be using, but there isn't an app that is specifically made for physical education that will track mile times, track pace, track heart rate, that will automatically grade the run times based on effort, and that will automatically create showing student progress. And I know this is kind of this big idea, but it's something that I feel will help students in so many ways. It'll limit the amount that students have to work. It will provide instant feedback, as well as easy to use and understand. This is something that they can use at home if absent to make up runs. And that was one of the big things with physical education, is that students on mile days were missing, and sometimes we're so busy that it's hard for them to make up runs. And so being able to make up their run at home using an app that will automatically grade their run and send that to me, I think is critical. It allows the class to be efficient and provides students the opportunity to get this instant information on how they're doing. And like I said, I know this is this moonshot idea. That's something that, I've talked to other educators about, and they feel like, they may be far to reach and to become successful with. But it's something that I plan on doing in the future once I get settled in and I learn a little bit more about the educational school system and physical education and its role in the school. And so, looking at a COVID-19 world, I believe there's still a lot that I can do. I can still create at-home workouts for parents and kids. And I found this to be highly effective for parents. They love working out with their kids for the most part. And kids absolutely love getting their parents involved in the learning process. And so that's one. Second is I can still create easy meals for parents and students to follow at home. A lot of the times I had parents coming up to me and they don't necessarily know what to buy and the portion size or whatever it may be. And so I can still create these easy meals for parents and students to follow at home. I can still track their cardiovascular endurance through these use of apps. I can still teach specific sports with the manipulation of equipment, and I found that I understand that not all students are going to have a soccer ball, or not all students are going to have a basketball, but these things can be manipulated, such as rolling up a whole bunch of socks into one ball, and there you have a volleyball, right? And so there's ways to get things at home that we can manipulate to kind of represent the equipment that we would use at the school. And then lastly, we can still get parents involved in their children's healthy lifestyle change, right? Sending emails to parents, calling parents, seeing how them and their students and their children are progressing through this COVID-19 world, because we understand, right, that physical activity and health are critical, right, components of preventing illness and disease. And so I can still do these things, even though to a limited kind of amount. I can still support my students to the best of my ability. So what would I want when we get back to our new normal? I think one of the things that I was thinking about this for a while, and I think just to have a supportive administration that understands the importance of nutrition and physical activity and its role of preventing illness. Through this whole COVID-19, we've learned that being healthy was huge, and not getting this illness, as well as helping the recovery process if you did get it and you were a healthy individual. And so just having an administration that understands that the importance of physical education at school, and that's going to support me in the things that I want to do in this new world, because I don't think things will necessarily go back to the way they used to be. And so I have a lot of ideas that will help our students be ready for another day that may come. And so lastly, that's really what I want. And then moving on, I think I must have an innovator's mindset when approaching the ideas that I want to implement with my classroom. this semester. One of the things that I pulled out two things. The first is I must be a risk taker. I must not be afraid to take risks. Not everything we try will work with every student. Something that I may implement may work for one, but not for another. And so I can't be afraid to take risk and understand that, you know what? Failure is part of the process. I have to have that growth mindset and not have a fixed mindset and believe that I can accomplish anything. And then the second point is risk is necessary to meet every student's needs. And I think the innovator's mindset, George talked about that, is that risk is necessary, right? We can't be afraid because students need us. And to be able to meet those needs, we need to take risk. And I found a quote that I really liked, which says, living with fear stops us taking risk. And if you don't go out on the branch, you're never going to get the best fruit. And so when you take high risk comes high reward. And so me as an educator and looking at innovation, I cannot be afraid to take the risk. The articles that we've read talked about that. The innovator's mindset, George talks about this in detail, that and my staff and the administration cannot be afraid to fail because failure is part of the process. And then second is I must be resilient, right? And then George Couros talked about this a lot, is we must be resilient. My work will be questioned simply because it's a new idea, right? And I've already had that where I have an administration that questions what I'm doing. But I feel strongly that what I'm doing is what's best for my students. And hopefully that's best for all of them. And if it's not, then it's something that I have to work on so that it meets the needs of all students. And then second, how can I recover from failure and move forward? Because I have to understand that I am going to fail, but it's not about the failure. It's about how I move forward from that failure. And so I must understand that I'm never going to stop doing what's best for my students, because I feel that it's critical for their success, not only in school, but for the rest of their life. This innovator mindset creates a platform for students to branch out and make a difference for our society, to create, to innovate, and to become citizens and make a true change for this country and makes this country a better place to live in, that becomes a shine of light for the world. And so I want to thank you so much for allowing us to do this project. I learned so much going through this process about who I am as an educator and who I want to be and who I want my students to be. And so you giving me the tools to make true change for my students, for the educational school system, and for the world. And so thank you so much, Professor, and the rest of the class for listening, and I hope you have an outstanding week. Take care.